The narcissist does not begin with cruelty. He begins with charm, delicate, disarming, deliberate. He studies your desires, listens more than he speaks, mirrors your values like a polished surface. This is not affection, it is reconnaissance. The praise he offers you is not praise at all. It is a leash, silk-wrapped but unyielding. Every compliment serves a purpose to identify what you crave, to detect your emotional vulnerabilities, to train you like an animal that returns for rewards. His generosity is never free. It is an investment in your future obedience. He will remember the smile you gave when he complimented your ambition, your beauty, your strength. He will use it again, not because he admires you, but because it works. To the undiscerning eye, he seems ideal, attentive, passionate, intuitive. But the wise know that seduction is the first stage of conquest. The narcissist builds loyalty, not truth, but through illusion. He paints himself as your savior, the one who finally understands you, and in doing so, demands your trust before he earns it. Trust to him is not sacred. It is a weapon to be acquired and turned against you. The more you trust him, the easier it becomes for him to rewrite your perception of reality. He will tell you who you are, what you should think, how others are jealous or wrong or toxic. He becomes your translator, your filter, your standard. You no longer know where your thoughts end and his influence begins. This is the genius of the narcissist's charm. It does not command with force, it seduces through validation. He makes you feel special not because you are, but because it secures your allegiance. Once loyalty is ensured, the behavior changes. Subtle at first, delays in communication, slight criticisms cloaked in humor, attention withheld at random intervals. But you do not rebel. You try harder. You seek the version of him that once adored you, not knowing that version never existed. That version was a performance, and you were its only audience. He plays that character long enough for you to fall in love. Not with him, but with the mask. Once you're attached to the mask, the real him emerges, and by then, you are invested. You defend him to others. You doubt your own instincts. You think the coldness is temporary, that you've done something wrong, that the warmth will return. You don't see that you've been led into a maze, and at the center, there is no love, only control. The deception of the narcissist is not sustained by brilliance, but by your willingness to overlook the truth. His mask, though polished, is thin. But many choose comfort over clarity, mistaking performance for personality. The cracks begin small, barely perceptible moments that pass through your awareness like a shadow. A joke that cuts a little too deep, a compliment that carries a trace of condescension, an exaggerated story where he is always the victim or the hero, never the cause. These are not accidents. These are fissures in the illusion. But the narcissist relies on your hope, your empathy, your desire to give the benefit of the doubt. You see the slip and tell yourself it was nothing, that everyone makes mistakes, that he didn't mean it that way. But he did. Every minor cruelty is a test. He watches how you react. If you ignore it, he takes note. If you excuse it, he feels emboldened. The more you permit, the more he reveals. He will make you question your memory, your judgment, your sanity. Not because he needs to, but because it makes you easier to control. He cannot dominate a person who sees clearly, so he must blur your vision. This is not clumsiness, it is strategy. Over time, the mask will become heavier for him to wear. His charm will require effort, and effort is not something he gives unless the reward is high. When you are fully entangled, emotionally, financially, psychologically, he will let the mask slip more often, and still he will expect your loyalty. He will shame you for noticing. He will accuse you of being overly sensitive, ungrateful, dramatic. You will begin to apologize for what he has done. You will rewrite events in your mind to make sense of the contradiction between who he was and who he is. But there is no contradiction. There never was. You are not watching a change, you are witnessing a reveal. His cruelty was always present, just hidden behind a veil of performance until your defenses collapsed. The micro cracks were not failures in his act. They were signals, warnings, opportunities to wake up. Most do not. They hold on to the illusion because it is easier than facing the truth that they were manipulated. And that refusal to see is what the narcissist counts on. He survives by hiding in plain sight, by exploiting your own blindness, by feeding your need to believe that people are who they pretend to be. The narcissist does not pursue love, he pursues leverage. Connection in his hands is a tool, a path to control, not intimacy. What he desires is not mutual understanding, but psychological dominance. He will act interested in your dreams, your fears, your pain, not because he cares, but because these are maps to your mind. To possess you, he must first learn you. Every shared secret becomes a weapon. Every confession you make is stored, not with empathy, but with calculation. He does not bond, he collects. He accumulates information not to protect you, but to dismantle you when necessary. What appears to be emotional closeness is merely the tightening of chains. He will make you feel safe, heard, cherished, but only for as long as it keeps you tethered. Once you are emotionally dependent, the dynamic shifts. Your feelings will no longer be nurtured, they will be exploited. Your vulnerability will no longer be embraced, it will be used against you. You will be reminded of your weaknesses during arguments, mocked for the very insecurities you once entrusted to him. His presence becomes a mirror in which you begin to lose sight of your own reflection, replaced by the image he constructs for you, an image that serves his ego. He does not need to scream or raise his voice to assert power. A silent withdrawal, a cold glance, a calculated delay in response, all serve the same purpose: to make you question yourself, to make you crave his validation. You begin to ask yourself what you did wrong, how you can return to the warmth he once gave so freely. But that warmth was never free. It was an investment in your dependency. Now, every ounce of affection must be earned through compliance. Disagree with him, and you are punished. Assert your needs, and you are dismissed. Challenge his authority, and you are met with rage or silence. You are no longer a person, you are a reflection. Your only value is how well you sustain his illusion. He may speak of love, but it is a love rooted in control. He may act protective, but only when it reinforces his role as your savior. What he fears most is your independence. He cannot bear to see you autonomous, confident, immune to his tactics. That is why he weakens you slowly, invisibly, methodically. Because to dominate your spirit, he must first erode your sense of self, and he will do so with a smile on his face, wearing the mask of the lover, the protector, the soulmate. The narcissist demands agreement not out of mutual respect, but as proof of submission. To disagree with him is not to offer a differing opinion. It is to challenge his perceived superiority, and such defiance is seen as a betrayal. He does not argue to reach clarity or to understand your perspective. He argues to win, to dominate, to reestablish his control over the narrative. Your ideas are not received as contributions, but as threats to the order he has created where his word is final. He will twist your logic, distort your intentions, and reduce your valid concerns into signs of disloyalty. In his world, obedience masquerades as love, and silence is rewarded as wisdom. When you express hurt or disappointment, he will turn the blame toward you. He is never at fault. You are too sensitive, too emotional, too irrational. The more you explain yourself, the more ammunition you give him. He listens not to understand, but to dissect. Every sentence you utter is dissected and reassembled to suit his version of reality. This is not misunderstanding, it is manipulation. If you back down, he feels victorious. If you stand your ground, he escalates. You will find yourself apologizing for things you did not do, compromising values that should never be compromised, and walking on eggshells to avoid awakening his wrath. His tolerance for contradiction is non-existent. You are allowed to be yourself only within the limits of his ego. Your strengths are tolerated when they serve him, resented when they threaten him. Your independence is welcomed when it flatters him, punished when it challenges his control. The love he gives is conditional, and the conditions are constantly shifting. What pleased him yesterday may offend him today. You are left in a state of hypervigilance, constantly adjusting, measuring, and suppressing yourself to preserve the peace. But the peace is an illusion, a fleeting reward for obedience, always at risk of being revoked the moment you remember who you are. He sees loyalty not as something earned, but as something owed. He expects it without effort, and when questioned, he claims to be misunderstood, victimized, or attacked. You become the aggressor for simply trying to assert your own truth. In his mind, there is no room for two realities. Only his is allowed to exist. And so, you begin to shrink, not because you are weak, but because you are being conditioned. Slowly, methodically, he teaches you that love requires silence, that respect demands agreement, and that your own voice is a threat to the stability of the relationship he controls. To break free from a narcissist is not an act of confrontation, but one of strategy. They thrive on your reaction, your rage, your confusion, your heartbreak. These emotions fuel their sense of control. If you try to leave in cause, they will twist it into another performance, casting themselves as the victim of your instability. They simply withdraw. They will use your outburst to justify their narrative, recruiting others to see them as the reasonable one. You will not win through emotional pleas or moral arguments. Their conscience is not a tool you can reach, it is absent. What they respect is not goodness but power. The first step is mental detachment. Before you exit physically, you must first exit emotionally. This requires clarity. You must look past the illusion they created. The mask of the ideal partner, the false promises, the manipulative affection, and see them as they airy, a predator wearing the skin of your desire. You must study them like a rival, not mourn them like a lost love. Recognize their patterns. Observe their tactics. Where once you reacted with hurt, respond now with observation. Silence becomes your weapon. Indifference your shield. Do not announce your departure. Do not seek closure. Narcissists weaponize farewells to reassert dominance. They will feign sorrow, offer sudden affection, or shift to rage in an instant. These are not signs of remorse, they are strategies to keep you within orbit. The more you explain yourself, the more control you give them. Instead, vanish like a shadow at dusk. No warning, drama, just absence. You rob them of their stage, their audience, their power. Rebuild in secrecy. Guard your plans. Confide in no one who can be turned against you. Narcissists are skilled in triangulation. They turn mutual acquaintances into spies, turning your words into daggers pointed back at you. They cannot tolerate losing control, so expect retaliation cloaked in charm or disguised as concern. They will reach out not because they miss you, but because they miss the power you gave them. Do not respond. Recovery is not just distance. It is transformation. You must deconstruct the lies they planted in your mind. The belief that you were difficult, unlovable, broken. These were not truths. They were tools. Simply withdraw. Reclaim your mind as a sovereign kingdom. Rebuild your sense of self brick by brick, without their voice echoing in the chambers of your thoughts. Freedom is not a gift they will grant you. It is a throne you must seize when they are too blind with arrogance to notice you've already escaped. When confronting the force of a narcissist, victory is not found in confrontation, but in mastery of self. These individuals operate not through strength, but through illusion, manipulating perception, distorting affection, and feeding off your confusion. They will charm you into silence, shame you into submission, and twist love into dependency. Their power thrives not because they are invincible, but because too many refuse to see them clearly. They are parasites of validation, hollow kings who build empires atop your self-doubt. But the moment you awaken to their tactics, when you cease explaining, justifying, and believing their mask, the spell breaks. This battle is not about defeating them, it is about reclaiming yourself. Withdraw your energy, sharpen your discernment, and guard your peace like a fortress. Let your silence echo louder than any plea. That is how you win, not by fighting their chaos, but by mastering your response to it.